All right, we'll go ahead and get started. As you can see in the chat there, if that's music to your ears that you would like to enjoy again later, please feel free and find them. Thank you, Jacob, for adding that note. And welcome, good morning. Thank you all for joining us. We are so excited to have such a great turnout here as we have hosting our Citizens League Community Update and annual meeting. My name is Laura Mon Ginsberg. I serve as the chair of the Citizens League board. And wow, do I love this organization and love being here with our fabulous team and board members and all of you this morning. So our program today begins with a little bit of business. We're going to elect our new and returning members of our board. Then our executive director, Kate Cimino, who just celebrated her 1 year with the Citizens League. Yay, big yay to that. Feel free to drop an emoji reaction. Kate will introduce our fabulous team and share some updates on our incredible work this year, and then go into a deeper dive of 2 public safety projects that we completed in 2021. That's going to feature a roundtable with community members. So we're very excited to bring some more voices into our conversation this morning. And lastly, we're going to hold the room open at the end. I know some of us, self-included, reformed, introverted extroverts, have been craving time together. So we're going to have some breakout rooms, some time to be together and chat together at the end. So if you can hang on and hang out, we would love to have you at the end. As we go throughout our presentation today, please go ahead and use the chat feature, as you already are, to share comments. Feel free to use the reaction icons as well. We want this to feel interactive and exciting, so please feel free to interact with all of us. So first, we're going to move into our business as promised and get into our board election. So first, I would like to acknowledge all our current members are here today. I don't know if you all can use the little raise hand, perhaps, to just raise your hands, or you can raise your physical hand, assuming that's available to you. But your hand, your emoji hand, whatever, thank you all for being here. Thank you for your service to the league. It has been such a pleasure to serve alongside you, some of you for many years, and some of you as new friends. And so we're going to start by presenting the slate of new and returning board members. So this is business. This is the fun part. This is an election. So we invite our members and supporters and friends of the league to vote. So that means if you've participated in our work, if you're a Capital Pathways student or alum, if you support us financially, if you count yourself a member, please vote, because we really care about making this our entire community's event. So we have members who are returning for a second term. You'll see them here. And then we have some new members. So we're very excited about our board. Our board has done incredible work through unprecedented times. I have to say it. I know it was the word of the year. It's been an amazing opportunity working with this team, and of course working alongside our incredible staff to advance our mission. So with that, as we all know, this is my favorite part, anything that has to do with vaguely Robert's rules. I'm going to take a motion to officially accept our nominees as board members. So if somebody wants to make that motion, either coming off mute or typing very quickly.
I so move.
Thank you very much.
Second.
Pat? I'm sorry, who was the second?
Ray Xiong will second.
Thank you very much. All right, theoretically, we're in discussion. If there's any discussion, but I'm just going to go ahead and use all my privilege vested in me to keep us moving. So all in favor, I'm going to ask you to either, you can come off mute and verbally say aye. You can type aye in the chat. You can wave or do some sort of affirmative looking emoji, but all in favor of this motion, please let us know. Great, love it.
Aye.
Aye.
All of you, this is so great.
Aye.
All right, I have to ask, any opposed? Love that deafening silence. Okay, the motion carries. Thank you all so much for participating in that part. And with that, it is my great privilege and honor to turn it over to Kate Cimino, our fabulous executive director. Kate, good morning.
Good morning, Laura. It's always so fun to be at an event that you start off because you just set the tone and the vibe along with our smooth jazz for the morning. So thank you, Jacob, for the great welcome, the great auditory welcome today. It is so my pleasure to be here with you today. I know we keep saying we wish we were in person, but I'll tell you, there's something a little bit nice about seeing all your little faces on the Zoom. Everybody's at home with their coffee. It's fun to be together. We will be together in person again someday, and we can't wait. But until then, I'm grateful to have you here with us today, popping in the chat and connecting. So yeah, as Laura said, would you believe this week marks 1 year at the League for me, and it has been an amazing, rewarding, challenging, an exciting year for us. It's been quite a year for our world and our community, and we are grateful that we've been able to show up in a lot of unique ways. Many of you have been following along. I know that some of you have already received your annual report for 2020 in the mail, and if you have not, or you're not on that list, you'll see that online very soon. But today, I think about our community. When we talk about community update, you are our community. You and hundreds of others, maybe thousands of others over the last year and a half who have been beside us, been with us, been along and with us in our work. You have been part of our work, you've joined us on projects, you have attended events, you have volunteered your time, and many of you have donated generously to support our work. So thank you. We truly and honestly would not have been able to do this without all of you, all of our partners, all the people that we have the privilege to collaborate and work with every day. So I'd love to share just a few highlights of our work this year, and I'll buzz through this. Hopefully you've been following along online in the mailings and see what we're up to, but just a few highlights because we're proud of our work, and I hope you are too, and love to share a bit more. So next slide, please. Our new event last year was the first time, and our team created a brand new event, MN Civic Leader, and this is our celebration of everyday civic leadership. We had over 150 people joined us, nominated their friends, their neighbors, people in their communities who are going above and beyond during challenging times. And now MN Civic Leader is back for a second year. We're so excited to see the nominations rolling in, and we'll be celebrating online in October, statewide event. So we hope you can join for that as well. Next slide. Our Civic Celebration last March was online, of course, but it was a great success. It was actually a blast. It was really fun. And we had over 200 people attend that event, surpassed all our fundraising goals. Woo! And we also were able to honor two incredible leaders, Charlie Vig and Phyllis Rawls-Goff. And plus we had Citizens League socks. So it was a win all around. Next is our Capital Pathways program. As most of you know, and this program has a special place in my heart, as I know it does many folks. This is our paid internship program for students who are Black, Indigenous, people of color, who are in college. This is a paid internship at the state capitol for students to gain their voice, or amplify their own voice, gain the relationships, network, and knowledge to empower their career in public policy. Our cohort last year met online and really did an amazing job supporting each other and really being there for each other in that way during what we all know was a really challenging year. Awesome program, and we have almost 200 students over these years who have completed the program. So this is awesome. Next slide. Our public events. This is a huge, crazy number. So we saw an over 400% increase in attendance. We moved all these mind opener events online in 2020 and 2021. This is compared to 2019 when they were in person. And we have been drawing statewide audiences and digging into topics that are urgent, topics that are compelling. These are easy to get to, easy to access. Many folks have also been donating to support the work as we go. So public events have been a great success this past year. And finally, our policy projects. This is our deep policy work of the League. And this is where we find insights, we generate solutions, both with people most impacted by issues alongside those who hold positional power and influence to drive change at a systems level. Often these groups interact or overlap, not always. So our job is to create those bridges, those communities that can work together to drive change when it is needed and to create great solutions. This past year, in particular, we showed up for our community on public safety. I'll speak more about those projects in a moment, but I'm just really proud of this great work that we did this year. We'll share more momentarily. And as you see here, we got a lot of positive press for the league as well. And just incredible agreement on the recommendations that emerged from these projects, over 90%. It was pretty mind-blowing. So we did all this with, wait for it, 6 people, Citizens League team of 6, powerful, incredible team. And it's just my joy to work with this group every day. And so I want to give you a chance to meet everybody. And so right now what I'd like to do is I'll go around and invite each person to share their name, their role at the league, and how about a highlight of our work right now for you, something that stood out to you this year and why. And let's start, don't forget to unmute yourselves. Let's start with Sarah.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Sarah Stout-Miller. I am the Director of Development at the Citizens League. And something that really stood out for me in the last year was our MN Civic Leader event. I love that it was community driven, that we were introduced to all these fabulous people in the community doing great work who showed us what it can look like when you're making a difference in your community, and that you don't need to be a formal policymaker to be in your community and affect public policy. So really excited about that.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Next, Khalia.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us this morning. So my name is Khalia Xiong, and I am a program manager at the Citizens League. So much of my role involves managing our Capital Pathways program, which you just heard a little bit about from Kate. So thanks, Kate. One highlight for me this year was just how well our Capital Pathways virtual program year went. We started off the year a little bit nervous on our end, just because we weren't sure how a hands-on immersive internship experience was going to transfer over into an online format. But our students and our host organizations really did raise up to the challenge and made the most out of their experience. So they were really open to learning, they were really creative and welcomed change. They adopted new methods of communication to stay engaged and connected with one another. And they also found many effective ways to adapt a lot of the work into a virtual environment. So that was really, really amazing to see. This upcoming year, we are currently planning for a hybrid program model. So this will be combining virtual and in-person convenings. So I'm super excited for this. And I am also really excited to share that we will be opening up our host applications next week on October 4th. So if you or someone you know is interested in hosting a Capital Pathways student for the 2022 session, please do keep updated with our webpage. And I'm going to just really quickly drop the link onto the chat here. So you could view it there, or you can also just use the chat function to message me directly as well. So that'll be all for me. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Khalia. Nancy.
Good morning. My name is Nancy Hegdahl, and I am the Operations and Database Administrator at the League. I think one of our big accomplishments this year, this past year was, and all done during a pandemic, was bringing on our great executive director. And not being able to be in the office during this transition was difficult at times, but the successful transition was all done virtually with just a few outside meetings. So we're real happy to have Kate with us. She's a great leader. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Nancy. Jacob.
Hi, everyone. Jacob Tainer, Communications and Marketing Specialist for Citizens League. Been around since 2013, which It's gone by so fast, but so much has changed. I would say my highlight is some of the mind openers we've been able to do online over the past year and a half. You know, when the pandemic hit, we were wondering how we were going to continue doing events. And as Kate mentioned, we were able to engage even more people from across the state on these deep dive policy topics. We did a post-election analysis, transportation, urban design, and you know, not only including experts on those issues, but also folks impacted by a problem. And I think back to our great mind opener on the healthcare experience for Black mothers. All of these, and now that they are online and recorded, they are archived on our blog, so you can go ahead and listen and watch those anytime.
Thank you, Jacob. And finally, Amanda. As many of you have heard, Amanda is departing the Citizens League. Her last day is actually tomorrow. She's moving to a great new role at Thunheim, and we are so excited, Amanda, for your journey ahead. But you know we will miss you, and as many of you have seen and know, Amanda's impact on the league is hard to overstate. Her contributions to the league in 2+ years have been hard to even quantify. So we will miss you so much, Amanda. I'll turn it over to you for a quick comment too.
Thanks, Kate. Good morning, everyone. It is bittersweet. My name is Amanda Kunchbahari, currently until tomorrow, Director of Public Policy. I just want to extend my really heartfelt thank you to the team. It has been a journey in the past 2 years. I have grown, I have learned, I have built some amazing networks and contacts, including all of you on this call. And I have been able to work on some really, really meaningful and incredible work during my time. Specifically our public safety work, which you will hear a little more about. But it's been a journey, it's been an incredible journey, and I am just very grateful for my time with the Citizens League. I'm still a friend of the league, and I actually hope we get to work together in many different ways going forward. But I just want to briefly thank the staff, the team. Kate, you've been phenomenal to work with, an incredible leader and friend, mentor, and boss. And I'm going to miss you all so much. The board is phenomenal. Honestly, I've never seen a board operate in such a smooth way, especially during the transition. So I commend you all for the work that you do and the passion that you bring to this organization and to Minnesota and to the people that live here. So thank you. I appreciate everyone. And I hope to see you actually on the 5th. I am going to return for that happy hour, and I hope to see your faces in person and actually have a chance to connect with you and to think about how we can kind of do work going forward. So thank you, Kate. I'll pass it back over to you.
Thank you, Amanda. And I love the chat blowing up with comments congratulating you and thanking you for your work at the league. We know that you'll continue to shine bright no matter where you go. So thank you again for all that you've done with us. That means, though, as you probably have guessed, that we have a Director of Public Policy position open, and Jacob is right there with, let's drop that in the chat. So we know you have great networks of people that you know, and we would love to invite you to share that link, check it out, check out the role. It's a pretty unique role. It is less of a policy agenda and more of doing a lot of really interesting collaborative work, figuring out where there are inroads to bring people together and make an impact in key areas. So really encourage you to check out that job. Plus you get to work with this great team that you just met. So it's all a good win. Wonderful. So moving to our next segment. So we are going to move into a segment going deeper on our public safety projects that we completed in 2020 to 2021. And many of you on this call, I know, either are on our board, get our mailings, follow along with us online. And so you've been seeing a lot about these projects. I'm grateful that the league was able to show up in a meaningful way in this moment that we've been living in, where public safety, community safety, policing, emergency response has been so front of mind and heart for so many people. And so today, Amanda is momentarily here going to be leading a deeper dive roundtable with a few members of our projects. And I'm really excited for you to meet them. But first, in case you're joining us or want a quick refresher, I'm just going to share a super short snippet about each of the projects, just so we have a shared baseline here, a little background. The St. Paul Commission, which I'll call it the St. Paul Community First Public Safety Commission. This was a group of 40 people, over 40 people, named to this group by Mayor Melvin Carter of St. Paul. This group worked together over 5 months through a process led by our team at the League. And the charge of this group was to recommend alternative response models for lower level, non-violent 911 calls, what kind of alternative responses make sense in many situations, and recommend whether St. Paul should pursue a city staff office of community safety or violence prevention, and what the focus of such an office could be or should be. So we delivered the group's recommendations to the mayor and the city council in May, and our recommendations directly informed Mayor Carter's 2022 budget. And already actions are being taken at both the St. Paul City level and the Ramsey County level to implement so many of this group's ideas. We actually just had an update from the mayor and others yesterday. It was so fun to see, meaningful to see so many of these groups' recommendations moving forward and actually being translated into real changes. This touches on everything from child welfare calls, traffic stops, to mental health support. And so we have 2 of our commission members from that project, Stephen and Heather, are with us today and momentarily will join us to talk about that work. Our second project was for the Met Council, and it focused on Met transit system, buses and trains all around the metro, providing a full spectrum of insights around safety. What does safety mean to different stakeholders and different people who are part of this system? So this was everyone from riders of different ages, race, ability, transit employees, and local businesses, educational institutions, government leaders locally, all people who touch this system in some way or are impacted by it. And for this work, the League partnered with TCIA, the Twin Cities Innovation Alliance, and Marika from that team is with us today. And we had committees, listening sessions, interviews, focus groups, and all of the information and insights that came out of these sessions, we shared back with the Met Council what I would consider a pretty unvarnished and honest assessment of safety on the Met transit system. And as we speak, Met Council is working with what we have provided them to move forward into next steps. And they have said that this is a more honest and straightforward and direct assessment than they had previously had access to. So I'm really pleased to see that work moving forward. Leading both these projects for the League was our own Amanda Kunch-Bahari, who really did just an incredible job with arguably one of, if not the most challenging issue facing our communities in this moment of 2020 to 2021. So I'm pleased that Amanda's leading this roundtable today. And Amanda, I'll turn it over to you to introduce our guests.
Thank you, Kate. I also really want to give a shout out to Kate for your incredible work with the Public Safety Commission. It was truly a team effort, and we had many members from the Citizens League team that were part of that, and we could not have done that work without you all. So just my gratitude to our team and the fabulous work that we were able to do. So I'm excited for us to dive into this panel, and I am Jacob, just thinking, I don't know if you're going to have us on the screen or how we're going to do that piece, but I'd like to invite our wonderful panel members who you can see here, Marika Peppercorn, Stephen Moore, and Heather Worthington. So if you can join me, that would be fantastic. So we'll take a second as folks are getting pinned to your screen here. But since I've had a chance to work with all of you in a different capacity in our work, I would love for the audience, the folks on this call today, to get to know you as well. So what I'm going to do now, I would love for you to introduce yourselves, share a little bit about who you are, the organization that you're with, the project that you worked with us on, which Kate had mentioned, and a little bit about your role in that project too. There we go. You can see your faces now, yay. So just to get us started, because I want to be mindful of time, Marika, would you be willing to go first? Because I see your lovely face on my screen.
Certainly. Can you
Thank
hear me
you.
okay?
I can, yes.
Great. Hello, Citizens League community and public. It is a pleasure to be here with you today. Marika Pfefferkorn, I'm the co-founder of the Twin Cities Innovation Alliance. We've been around since 2017, and we work in the domain of technology, community engagement, and education. And so this was a perfect opportunity to partner with the Citizens League to deepen the conversation about public safety and what the community envisions for that, and leaning in and engaging community members specifically that are riders that can, as Kate said, give an unvarnished look at what we're experiencing. So our role with this project was to lead the community planning, community engagement planning process, which we worked with a group of 8 individuals from across the Metropolitan Council region. And you'll learn more about how we worked together to pull together this report, but I'll pass it back to you, Amanda. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Marika, and good to see you. Stephen, how about you? If you could share a little bit about yourself with the group.
Good morning, everyone. It's so good to be here. My name is Stephen Moore, and I'm the CEO of a software company startup called Culture Booster, where we're focused on the future of work. We believe that the future of work begins with culture. I have joined the Public Safety Commission, basically George Floyd. I think when I think about the events that happened around that, my heart got pricked. And if anyone knows me, I am the least likely to volunteer or raise my hand to be a part of anything remotely close to this. It's just not my wheelhouse. You all know my partner probably much better than I do. And, you know, hopefully I know my partner better than you all, but you all know her strengths and her abilities. She's just a phenomenal person in the public sector. Fatima Moore, she serves with the board here. So this is not my wheelhouse, but I jumped at the opportunity because I think that it's important that our voices are at the table. And so that was the one lesson that I got from this. And it was an amazing experience, so I'm excited to talk about it today. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephen. And yes, Fatima is amazing. So love that. Heather, how about you?
Good morning, everyone. I am Heather Worthington. I'm a almost 30-year resident of St. Paul, about a 25-year resident of the Midway neighborhood. Mayor Carter appointed me to the commission. I bring to the work about a 25-year career in local government at management and leadership levels, both in the city and county sphere. And so I have systems knowledge that I brought to the table. But more than that, I really felt passionate about this issue and the need to do deep and meaningful reform of law enforcement so that it can better reflect the community values that our officers want to serve. And so that's why I wanted to be a part of this work. And I am currently in private practice as a consultant and working in this space for the city of St. Paul, actually, and helping them stand up their Office of Neighborhood Safety and work on some of the neighborhood safety recommendations that came out of this report. So very excited about that work and how it moves forward.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Heather. And as we go about the conversation, I think it would be really insightful for the group to hear some of the things that are happening from that work and being carried forward and implemented. So would love for you to touch on that as we go about the conversation. But Heather and Stephen, I really appreciate that you both touched on why you wanted to join the commission, the Community First Public Safety Commission, the kind of personal reasons and impetus for you being a part of that. And I'm curious, actually, so this question is going to be more directed towards Marika. And just with your work with Twin City Innovation Alliance and, you know, us partnering together on this transit safety work, what interested you about that? Either, and however you want to answer that, I'm just curious.
Certainly. So My background actually has been in organizing around transportation, specifically around the Blue Line that is supposed to be coming out to my community in Brooklyn Park. So we had organized communities to participate in the design process. And I felt that it was just as equally important to bring that lens of community engagement to the conversation that the Metropolitan Council and Metro Transit was trying to have. And knowing that we put to work a number of strategies of engaging people and wanted to really make sure that a process like this at a time like this represented those that are most impacted by the recommendations and decisions that would come out of something like this. And so when I learned that Amanda was on the project, I thought that we could work together really well and dig deep and push back in spaces where we traditionally might not want to walk, and hearing about what's happening in transit, what's happening on our trains and in our platforms, and then how do we have those conversations in a way that's productive. And I felt like this would be a really good opportunity, not just for the Twin Cities Innovation Alliance and Citizens League, but Metropolitan Council really had not done a deep dive like this in engagement before. And so having this kind of trifold approach, I thought we could probably make some important moves and give some important recommendations at this important time. Like Stephen said, we were all reeling when we started having these conversations about what are these steps that we need to take in order to get beyond just the conversation and dig in and make some meaningful change.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. And I have to say it was a fantastic partnership with TCIA. So lots of good moments. That project lasted for an entire year, actually, if folks don't know. And I just want to note in the chat, Jacob put the links to both projects. So please check out the pages. And as we're going through the conversation, I just want to welcome everybody on the call to have your questions in mind. We will have some time at the end for that, and want to make sure that we cover anything that you're curious about that we don't talk about in the chat. So my next question, and I would love for each of you to actually touch on this, but I'm going to go back to you, Heather, and just thinking about your role in the Community First Public Safety Commission. I want to know a little more about how the work that you did on the commission impacted you, your community, however you define that, and just thinking about, some of the things that are happening now with that work going forward.
Thanks, Amanda. First of all, I want to say that I live in a neighborhood in St. Paul that has always been kind of on the edge of public safety issues in terms of the rate of crime in this neighborhood, and some of the things that have happened in the last 6 to 12 months, increased carjackings, increased theft, really a public safety environment that's shifting again, primarily because of a nationwide increase in crime and violence and gun use, but also I think just kind of a natural cycle of kind of that ebb and flow of crime in this neighborhood. So I live in this space. When we moved into our house almost 25 years ago, we had a very active drug house behind us. And we had people coming day and night buying drugs at this house. We had a drive-by shooting about 3 months after we moved in. So this neighborhood has always been in a little bit of flux. One of the things that I have really paid attention to, though, since serving on the commission, is how my neighbors are feeling, excuse me, about crime in this neighborhood and how they're reacting to it, and what kind of conversation that's sparking in the community about what constitutes neighborhood safety. And it's a really rich discussion. It's happening mostly on Facebook, which is interesting. I am surprised and delighted by how productive and constructive it is overall, and how much people are really seeking solutions and trying to do active problem solving and asking questions like, how can we change this? What are some of the things that are related to this? And one of the things that I'm most impressed by as someone who has done deep systems work over the years is how people are really pretty aware of the fact that a lot of crime is resulting from some of these broken systems, some of these system changes that need to occur. And just in the last 48 hours, we've had a really rich discussion about juvenile crime in the neighborhood and how programs like Juvenile Detention's Alternative Initiative, JDAI, that Ramsey County has been operating, wow, for at least a decade. No, it's more than that. It's like 15 years. How that has changed the landscape in terms of juveniles and their interaction with the correctional system. And there's a really deep and good discussion going on about that in this community. So what I'm excited about is that some of the changes that Mayor Carter and his staff are now bringing forward with Chief Axtell and with the department heads at the city are really focused on trying to do deep understanding, deep information sharing with the community, deep data collection, and using that data in a way that can help to inform policy changes. That's really government at its finest. And so I'm really excited about that. And in particular, standing up this Office of Neighborhood Safety, which will happen over the next several months, is a really great opportunity for people in the community to have a touch point now to understand some of these issues, to get information, and to get involved in helping to make changes. Because I think that people are really interested in leaning into this work right now. That's a big difference than when I moved into the Midway in 1997, and people were just calling 911. They were just calling the police, trying to get a reaction to the crime and not really trying to get involved in meaningful change that could help to eliminate or lessen crime. So that's a shift that I've seen, and I think it's pretty exciting.
That's great. Thank you. Just for sharing your experience as being a resident, the way that that's kind of impacted the role that you played on the commission, and then now seeing this change, living in the neighborhood and the engagement that people have and wanting to have this discussion. That's fantastic. So thank you, Heather. Stephen, I'm curious from your perspective too, just thinking about how serving on the commission impacted you and then your role in the community and kind of how you do your work moving forward.
Thank you. Yep. I think the biggest impact for me, well, there were two. One, you all coalesced an amazing group of people to take part in the panel. Just the depth and breadth of knowledge within the systems. Just brilliant, wise people that were all rowing together with the same purpose in mind to make St. Paul the best place they can be. In terms of my personal impact, I was taken back by how many different groups this work touched, specifically vulnerable groups, and I didn't think that I would have that connection. And I just thought about my younger brother, and who suffers from mental illness and who's been homeless and missing for years, and how that translated into this work, and just the emotions that brought up for me. And so it was just, we weren't just working on theory or just policy at a very high level, but we're making active changes. So I think that was really beautiful. In terms of continuing the work, I'm a grassroots person. This work has opened up my heart even more. I think about my neighborhood, like Heather, I'm on the east side, I'm in the hood. When you think about the calls and the headlines that come in, Dayton's Bluff is probably connected to most of those taglines. But my partner and I, we came here intentionally. We can live anywhere in the state of Minnesota that we want to, based off of privilege and and we come from a place of gratitude, but we come here on purpose, and that's to be a light. And so our goal is to continue to do that. I think about the little kids that come to our house for snacks every afternoon. We have apples and granola bars lined up to take care of the kids in the community, because those needs are that's what's needed in our local space. And so that's my approach is having that grassroots level impact, and then raising my hand whenever opportunities like this come. So
thank you, Stephen. I just want to thank you during the commission itself for being so vulnerable and sharing so courageously and authentically about your brother's experience too, and the impact that that's had, but the ways that you and Fatima pour into the community too. I think that's very beautiful, and we appreciate it. So thank you. Marika, how about you? And just curious, and I know TCIA does a lot of work. When we think about the Transit Safety Project, and especially the community engagement, the planning committee that you convened and ran, that was such a unique group. I'm wondering if you can speak more about that and just the ways that this work impacted you and your role in community.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure to answer this question because I think we move the needle a bit in how the Metropolitan Council thinks about community engagement writ large. One is that we recruited community members from the community and we were able to pay them for what they were contributing. So we had folks from all over the Metropolitan Council area that came together twice a month and shared their expertise. These were specifically bus riders. And so the fact that their contribution was valued and that they were able to get a stipend for that was very meaningful for them. And for them, the Metropolitan Council to now go forward and thinking about how do we honor the contributions of community as we partner with them to make the changes that we want to see. That was really important. The second piece is that they were able to operate really autonomously from the Metropolitan Council. They tried to keep their hands off. And so what surfaced within the Community Planning Committee was authentically and genuinely what came up as suggestions and solutions from the community. And then I would also say, in our community engagement process, as you described before, we did the survey, we did focus groups, we did forums, but one of the most meaningful spaces for us was in those forums when we did the World Cafe. And I say that because we're bringing neighbors from across the Metropolitan Council districts that have not been in conversation with each other and have very different experiences. And for many of those people to walk away either having their mindset shifted or just opened up a bit more. And the feedback we got from folks that planned those community engagement sessions, which was the community planning community and the community members that participated in it, they talked about how it brought them to a deeper level of understanding and then also connection with other people. Many people showed up wanting to make sure that their point was heard. And I think many more people walked away thinking about other points because of how we structured that process to flow. And I think it was really critical that the Community Planning Committee at every juncture of the process was able to weigh in and provide feedback. And so they always felt like their voice was heard, whether it was follow-up from the forums, analyzing the data from the surveys, and then interpreting what all these things were about and what the meaning of them behind them was really important to build the muscle of this group to believe that they had something to contribute, because many of them have been riders for 20 years, but didn't know that they had such value to offer to Metropolitan Council. And now they know it and they're sure of it and they've been paid for their expertise. So that was definitely a change in the mindset. And then I think also, I don't think people had any sense of what Metropolitan Council does writ large, or how big it was, or how expansive it is, or that it has to report to the state legislature. And so I think we opened a lot of eyes about how do you actually influence decisions at the Metropolitan Council. So it is at the state legislative level, it is with the governor, it is with the commissioners. Before folks came in, they didn't even know who their Metropolitan Council commissioners were. And as a part of this process, they walked away with the understanding of what their roles are, the work that they're focused on, and what type of budget is available for this work. And so I think people walked away having a better understanding of, like I said, the Metropolitan Council and how they are now connected and can continue to provide input and support. And then I will say the one takeaway from the community planning group that we had was this work is not done. And we are not done doing this work. And so the group of folks that we worked with will maintain and stay engaged. But it's that there's a recognition that this community engagement process and this conversation should not end here. And that is pushed by the community engagement participants themselves. And so you'll see in the recommendations how this is just a phase, this is just a beginning point, but our hope and our goal is to continue these conversations, because the folks that we had on the council or on the planning committee were unsheltered. They have disabilities. They had just a variety of needs, and now know multitudes of people to go to continue to share their voice. So it was a really good experience for us to know that we have more people in the room that are focused on what does it mean to be safe in transportation. And based on your experience with the Metro Transit Police, what do you see for the future of Metro Transit? And so it's been powerful, it's been meaningful, and the group continues to push for this work outside of us formally meeting.
That's great. Thank you, Marika. And just to reiterate, like I do think and agree with you, it was such a different approach to community engagement that we had not done before. And I think it really did expand Met Council's ability to engage with community and provided just a fantastic framework for them to do this work going forward. I appreciate that you talked about this level of engagement at every point in the process and how that's so important to working with community members. And so Heather and Stephen, I really want to kind of learn from you, why do you think it's important to have folks with lived experience creating and crafting policy? And for folks on the call, I'm sure we have practitioners who are doing engagement work or want to do that work. What are some strategies and ways that they can authentically and not in an extractive way, but really in a co-creative way, engage with people who are impacted most? So Stephen or Heather, either of you can take that first.
I'll let Heather go first.
Awesome.
I was just going to say, I'll let Stephen go first. Okay. I think this is absolutely essential. Most recently, my full-time job prior to leaving to do consulting was with the city of Minneapolis, and I led the 2040 process, the comprehensive planning process. And in that process, we did a whole new level of community engagement work on behalf of the city in outreach to, in particular, outreach to communities that were really sort of disenfranchised in the political process. And I think that cities, for the last maybe decade or so, cities and counties have realized that in order to do really good, deep policy work that is reflective of the community, you need to be reaching out and interacting with people who don't come to meetings, for instance. You know, the classic, like we had a public hearing and only 10 people showed up, right? And we did almost 200 community meetings, and most of them were in small rooms with, you know, like a group of 15 or 20 people. They were really targeted, focused meetings that we went deep into the BIPOC community, deep into cultural communities, used translators, used different methods. So when we think about engagement, I think that the biggest missing piece of policymaking over maybe the last 40 years, and certainly longer than I've been in government, has been that perspective that people with lived experience bring to the table. And that was so crucial as we talked about optimal response. That's kind of what we're calling it now. So Akua Ellis, who is one of the co-chairs, has kind of renamed it not alternate response, but optimal response. And the idea is that we're really optimizing the existing resources that we have, both public safety and social service resources. But then we're also thinking about where the gaps are, and we're thinking about making sure that the right people are responding to needs. So if you call 911 and you're experiencing a mental health crisis, we want to make sure that you get a mental health practitioner responded to your call, not a police officer or a firefighter, right? That police officer or firefighter is essential for some responses, crime investigation, if you have a medical emergency, if your house is on fire. But there are other people who may be better suited to answer your call. And we want to make sure that we're using our police and fire resources appropriately too. And the reality right now, I think nationally, is that police resources are really down because of retirements and people leaving our police forces. And so we really need to think about this from a staffing and kind of continuity standpoint as well. So I think that people in the community can really be creative problem solvers, because if you have lived experience and you know what it's like to interact with that system, let's say from a mental health standpoint, you can help us as policymakers make better decisions, make better regulations and approaches if you can share your experience with us. And so the other piece of that, the flip side of that, is that we need people with lived experience actually doing the work. And so one of the most important things that the city is doing right now in looking for their new Office of Neighborhood Safety Director is it really prioritizing people with lived experience. Now that's a challenging thing from a recruitment standpoint, but the great thing that the mayor and his staff have done is that they have engaged with the commission, these 48 people who served on the Community First Public Safety Commission, and said, hey, get this out to your networks, talk to people you know, this is what we're looking for. And so that, again, that's a new way of doing things. And I just think it's not just a new way of doing things, it's the right way of doing things. So it's very exciting.
That's great. Thank you, Heather. That's really helpful to hear just kind of your different experiences and ways of engaging with community too. Stephen, how about you?
Yeah, I'm reminded of the story of the elder who took 5 people from the community and put blindfolds on them, brought them out to an elephant and positioned them in different places of the elephant, one on the trunk, one on the hind legs, one on the tail, and asked them to describe what they're experiencing and what animal it was. And they each had their different descriptions. I think the same is true for people with lived experience. They have a vantage point that differs from others, and it's really valuable. And some examples of that were there was a session for public safety where we learned about what the role of a dispatcher was, and how limited the information that they have, and how they have to put in place with limited information the right approach in a very time-constrained environment, which is almost a metaphor for the work that we did. We had to put in place in a very time-constrained environment, some really some substantial things. And so having all the voices at the table is so important, because it paints a fuller and more comprehensive view of the situation, and also the solutions that are brought to the table as well. We had our data nerds that were there at the table, which is really helpful, because we wanted to make sure that we're collecting all the right information. We had people that had deep systems knowledge, excuse me. And it was just a really great culmination of all these different talented people working together on the problem collectively to bring a really positive end. And so that's my little 2 cents. Thank you, man.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. I love that. Yeah, Marika, please.
Can I just add a little piece? And I think this is probably true for both of these projects, that they were a bit politically charged. Am I right? And so a part of this engagement process simply was keeping the eye on the prize. Like for us, we had to keep repeating, we are looking for a definition of safety, and we want a description of what your experiences are with the police. There were a lot of people that wanted to take it in a lot of different directions, whether it was the community, whether it was commissioners or stakeholders. And so one of the most important pieces of this community engagement process, was managing expectations and reminding people what we were here for over and over and over, and then over and over again. And then also, like with our project, we had to communicate, this is part 1. This is what we have control of. This is our scope, because whether it was commissioners or others, they wanted an answer immediately about how do we move forward. And in any community engagement process, trying to say that this process is going to be the solution is a setup for community members to distrust systems and those that partner with systems. And so one of the most important things was managing expectations and communicating again and again what the scope of this work was, because if you ask people in our committee, I think pretty clearly they will tell you what they accomplished, as well as the commissioners. And I think we're all on the same page, both with how the process happened, the timeline, and the recommendations. And so it was meaningful for us to all actually land on the same page and know what the next steps were.
That's great. And I think such a valuable just reminder to folks that when you're engaging with anybody, and especially community, to just be very transparent about what it is your scope is, what you're able to do and what you're not able to do. And we did that with the Community First Public Safety Commission. We said the charge literally at every single meeting intentionally, again, to remind folks of what we were there to do and what was out of that scope. So we're running a little close on time. I just wanted to really quickly, Stephen, I just love that analogy that you gave too. Thank you. And I think it's a good reminder too that folks with lived experience, everybody's experiencing a thing or an issue differently, right? Just because you may be from the same community, racially, ethnically, whatever it is that's identifying you, it doesn't mean that your experience is the same. So I think that's just another reminder that people are all experiencing things in different ways and have such value to bring to this work. So I just want to extend my heartfelt thank you to Heather, Stephen, Marika. Appreciate all of the insight and knowledge that you shared with us today. Real briefly, are there any questions that we could answer before I hand it over to Kate? I did not see any in the chat, but if you have one, please unmute or raise your hand. I'm just scanning here right now, our virtual room. All right. Well, if not, no worries. You know how to contact us at the League. And if you want to get in touch with Heather, Stephen, or Marika, if the three of you are comfortable, please drop your information in the chat so folks can reach out to you. We can also make the connection as well. So thank you again. We appreciate your time. And I am going to hand it over to Kate.
Great, thank you. So we have a few opportunities coming up that we want to make sure you know about. On October 5th, which is next Thursday, we've got a Thursday, right? Yeah, we've got a meet and greet. No, Tuesday. Sarah's going to put it in the chat. We've got an in-person social meet and greet at Bauhaus Brewing. This is outdoors. Sarah's going to put the link there in the chat, and Amanda will be there. It's our goodbye for Amanda, and everyone is welcome, all friends and anyone who's in the Citizens League family or wants to come hang out with us, please come and hang out with us outside. And then our Minnesota Civic Leader event, where we are honoring and lifting up everyday civic leaders from all around the state. That event is October 14th at noon, and you can find all these events on our events webpage, and we encourage you to check them out and join us. So now we do have some time to move into breakout rooms. If you're able to stay, please do. You'll have a chance to meet others, share anything that stood out to you from today's session. If you need to leave, you can do that now. We'll let you drop off, and then we can get you into breakout rooms. But if you have somewhere to head to, you can feel free to head. Thank you for being here. And if you're able to stay, please do. We'll take just a moment here to let people reset.
Hope all of you are registering for these upcoming events. I'm super excited. Would love to see you in person next week. MN Civic Leader is super inspiring. If you didn't attend last year, or even if you can't attend the live event, there's a lot of profiles on our website. And it's just really great to read through those and see all the great work people are doing in our community.
Great, thank you everybody. You can see this, right? The slides that I've got up here, great. So those are the dates for the meet and greet and MN Civic Leader. It was great to see you all today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the League, for being one of our partners, for being someone that we can count on. And we're grateful to know you and to consider you part of our Citizens League family. huge thank you to our board and our staff. And Amanda, cheers to you. And let's all have a great day. Take care.